I have a studio, but I think a lot of the projects also happen just out in the world. To talk about the idea of the studio, for me, is to kind of talk about the idea of architecture, but not physical architecture, the architecture of an idea. The studio that I have is it's actually kind of a series of buildings, and I created it in a way where I wasn't so much interested in concrete floor, white walls, studio space, for example, but something that was more fluid. And the idea was really that these different structures, these different architectural structures would be like different parts of the mind and the way the brain works. And at my studio, different rooms are different mediums. So you kind of walk through editing or architecture or sound or production, or there's a place where we're kind of making hands-on things, models and sculptures and things like that. And I like working that way because I don't want things to be precious. I don't like the idea that you work in a singular way, where one thing at a time happens. Studio is really kind of an attempt to liberate from that. So you have what happens there, and then you have the things that are they're kind of set up there to happen in the world. And that's really the other chapter, I think, is that kind of everything around you, it has possibility, and everything's a canvas, you could say. My name is Doug Aitken. I live in Los Angeles. I've had a lot of different studios, and for a while I would just get a studio like a month-to-month lease. I just find a place for that project I was working on, and then 6 months later or something, we would get rid of it. Completely nomadic. There was a time where I had to do a show at the Serpentine in London, so we just found a space where we could build the Serpentine Museum out of foam core. And other times I rented a Persian rug factory where I could build a suburban room that we had to explode. So I was kind of working like that a lot, and eventually I kind of wanted a space that was a bit more grounded, a place that I knew was going to be there and I could return to and kind of build off of. That's the studio I have now. It's kind of invisible from the road. I think it's kind of hidden, it's kind of humble, but it's a kind of strange asymmetric lot that just keeps going further and further back. And I like it. I like it because it's light. It doesn't have a lot of weight and materialism to it. I think the one constant at my studio is there's always music. There's always some kind of sound, and it's like the law of the jungle. Music and sound for me is something that I've always been immersed in, and it's not so much that there's a genre here or an artist here that you listen to, but it's kind of this flow, and it's something that sometimes it's in the foreground, sometimes it recedes in the background. Sometimes you find ideas or even solutions for ideas within sound. For me, there's something valuable about coming back to the studio over and over. And, times when you're uninspired, times when you're just doing work. It's didactic, it's boring, it's research, it's kind of brutal. But, I think there's something in the repetition of that oftentimes when you least expect it, you find a solution to something that maybe you've hit a wall with. Living in the time that we're occupying right now, there's so many tools to free you from space, free you from being in a room or a studio or something like that. And so I think there's kind of a balance that you find. You use the studio for certain things, but we're much more liberated than we were in the past also. The studio for me is a place of focus, and it's a focus in production, and that idea of production can be anything. It can be having an opportunity to work with your hands on something sculptural, and maybe you haven't in a while. To me, the studio isn't a precious place. It's more of a place for kind of a flow of ideas, just continuous flowing.